that we may go to the vote and bring brand new MCS, brand new MPs, brand new governors, and brand new senators and women reps, brand new people from unknown families. He has hoodwinked everybody to just imagine that he's fighting for us, and he's not. Enemy number 2 will be Ruto. Whether they are experienced or not experienced, we create their own.
Would that even be possible?
It is possible. It is possible. If with Kibaki we did it. Yote yawezekana bila Moi.
What if Kenya's biggest threat isn't poverty or corruption, but the very leaders we've trusted for decades? Apostle Daring claims our so-called champions of the people are in fact enemies, some hiding in plain sight. Before dismissing this as just another rant, hold on, because in today's video we uncover why names like Raila, Ruto, and Uhuru appear on the list of greatest enemies, and what their inclusion reveals about Kenya's future. Are these leaders truly fighting for us? Or are they puppets in a larger system strangling Kenya's progress? Let's find out. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Imagine being told that the very leaders once celebrated as the heartbeat of freedom are today spoken of as barriers to progress. This is not a whisper from the streets, but a bold declaration from Apostle Daring, who has chosen to point his finger directly at names that resonate across every corner of Kenya. Raila Odinga, William Ruto, and Uhuru Kenyatta are branded not as heroes, but as Kenya's greatest enemies. Such a statement does not sit quietly. It shakes the ground beneath familiar political stories that have defined the nation's modern history. Consider Raila Odinga, a man whose name has become synonymous with the struggle for justice and democracy.
Enemy number 3 will be Uhuru Kenyatta. Enemy number 4 will be Moi family. This is the time to call for total overhaul of the entire system. Total overhaul. And this is Raila came and they said Kibaki Tosha, and it was Kibaki Tosha. And to some extent, Kenya was liberated from economical challenges. Roads came up. It is a transition. People that are so down, and then because we have the power, we have it. Remove these systems of the presidents, the Rutos, the Kibaki, the Uhurus, everything. We remove it completely. And then we create our own.
To many, he has stood as the opposition voice, rallying crowds into the streets, filling stadiums, and crying out against exploitation and electoral fraud. Yet Apostle Daring describes him with a title that turns admiration into suspicion: the Deceiver. This portrait suggests that while Raila has carried the banner of the people, he may in fact be working toward a different agenda. The contradiction runs deep because his charisma and powerful speeches have given hope to millions. But critics argue that hope has too often been leveraged for negotiations that benefit power brokers more than ordinary citizens. It is this double image of champion and betrayer that makes the accusation sting. Looking back, we can see patterns in his political journey where promises melted into compromises. Each time he mobilized the streets, energy swelled with the belief that a historic shift was coming. But time and again, the fury seemed to cool into agreements behind closed doors. To the people who endured tear gas, bullets, and economic strain during boycotts, these private deals felt like betrayal. This is the shadow of deception Apostle Daring highlights: an ability to ignite the masses yet leave them stranded when the political game required settling for survival. What makes Raila Odinga the Deceiver is not merely the accusation, but the long trail of disappointment tied to his dramatic rises and sudden retreats. Then there is William Ruto, the man who currently holds the nation's highest office. To sit in the presidency is to carry both power and promise. Yet in Daring's account, Ruto appears as a paradox, commanding authority in theory, but powerless in execution. He campaigned as the voice of hustlers, a self-made man positioned against dynasties. The imagery of the wheelbarrow became a symbol of resilience, presenting him as one of the people. But now he is painted as unable or unwilling to dismantle the entrenched structures that choke political change. It raises the painful question: if even the president cannot realign the destiny of Kenya, then who can? His case embodies the frustration that leadership may shift, but the underlying system resists transformation. And in the background stands Uhuru Kenyatta, the scion of a dynasty that has shaped Kenya's leadership since independence. His story reflects privilege passed through generations, wealth cemented long before he stepped into office, and influence maintained even after. Apostle Daring's portrayal of Uhuru is one of complicity, a man who did not necessarily bring fresh problems, but whose very lineage symbolizes the recycling of power in a handful of families. In this account, Kenya's stagnation is not accidental. It is crafted and sustained by an elite committed to preserving its own control. By linking Uhuru to the cycle, the accusations expose a system where names change, but the interests remain constant. What makes this revelation striking is that these figures come from every corner of Kenya's political spectrum: the opposition, the ruling government, and former regimes. Their very diversity suggests a shared responsibility, a united front of elites whose loyalties lie with one another more than with the people. This indicates that Kenya's struggles may not be tied to a single individual failing in leadership, but to a repeating cast of characters who promise reform and deliver continuity. If this is the reality, if our trusted liberators, rulers, and reformers are woven into the same net, then the next question rises unshakably. If the problem is not the leader of the day, but the entire lineup across generations, what does Kenya's path forward truly look like? Across the African continent, we see nations wrestling with the same dilemma that grips Kenya today: the question of whether changing leaders can ever truly change the system. Nowhere is this more visible than in Burkina Faso, a country that has walked down a path of sudden upheaval not long ago. When Captain Ibrahim Traoré swept into power, it was not after a slow march of traditional politics, but through a dramatic shift that caught many by surprise. Young, confident, and surrounded by talk of revolution, he symbolized a new chapter for a nation that had endured instability and disappointment. For some, his rise exploded like a spark in the night, igniting hope that maybe, just maybe, the cycle of failure could finally be broken. And yet, in moments of wild optimism, darker questions always linger. Who really controls a leader that appears from nowhere into the seat of power? Traoré, with his youth and fire, quickly captured hearts, but rumors began to swirl. Could it be that behind the image of a fearless captain lies the hand of hidden interests, whether military, foreign, or local elites playing their own game? This possibility unsettles the dream many hold, showing how even bold change can disguise subtle continuity. Charismatic speeches may carry the rhythm of liberation, but when the applause fades, scrutiny begins. A leader may look fresh, yet the same old puppeteers could still be pulling strings from the shadows. It is an irony that resonates deeply with Kenya's own experience today. Here too we see a president described as present in office, yet powerless to shift entrenched foundations. The mandate seems large, but the results appear small. The structures remain stubborn, the people grow restless, and frustration rises. The comparison between Traoré and Ruto is revealing. One elevated suddenly through upheaval, the other through a democratic vote, yet both surrounded by skepticism about whether they are real agents of change or symbols managed by forces greater than themselves. In both stories, citizens are left asking whether their yearning for transformation is truly within reach. Now, picture the streets of Ouagadougou during the height of the upheaval. Men and women filled public squares, not with quiet resignation, but with restless energy. Flags waved, chants echoed, and faces carried emotion that was half desperation, half euphoria. In those moments, the people carried not only demands, but also belief. Their fists rose for dignity. Their shouts called for a break from layers of old betrayals. But not far beneath the rallying cries lived the painful possibility that yet another leader could ride their sacrifice without ever delivering its fruits. That tension between hope and heartbreak mirrors the atmosphere familiar to Kenyans who have marched, protested, and voted again and again, waiting for a dawn that has often looked brighter in words than in reality. The lesson of Burkina Faso becomes sharper when viewed this way. Replacing one figure with another can create a sense of momentum, but lasting progress requires more than the changing of seats at the top. It demands dismantling and rebuilding systems that trap even well-meaning leaders. Apostle Daring's challenge echoes here. Kenya must not only replace familiar names, but bring forth brand new representatives, men and women whose identities lie outside the dynasties and wealth that have captured the state. True renewal is less about who wears the crown and more about how the stage itself is structured. The real danger facing Kenya may not rest on Raila, Ruto, or Uhuru alone, but in the cycle of recycled leadership. Power has shifted back and forth between familiar families and figures, each promising change while often preserving the same system. When leaders act as puppet masters, the nation's destiny remains tied to their interests, not the people's. Waruinge's words remind us, protect yourself and defend what your grandfather died for. This is a call for vigilance. Kenya must now choose whether to remain trapped in repetition or dare to build something entirely new, free from recycled power.